Hey guys, welcome to the Internal Leverage Podcast. I'm your host, Abraham Heisler. And Napoleon Hill, in his book, Think and Grow Rich, wrote, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." It's easy to conceive of financial success. It's much more difficult to believe it for many. So let me ask you a question. Are you struggling to make a financial breakthrough? Have you tried various different business strategies but keep getting stuck? If so, your money story may be the thing that's holding you back. What's a money story? A money story is a deep-seated belief in your unconscious mind, written from when you were young, influenced by your parents, by society. If the story is positive, it'll align with your desire for expansion. But if it's negative, it'll run contrary and all your efforts will be rendered useless. Check out this episode in which I teach a masterclass on how to identify and rewrite your money story.
All right. So let's hop into it. Let's just go for it. Here's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to take a second, just close your eyes and take a few deep breaths in. There's something that's so beautiful about our relationship with money, sex, and power in that it has a very intense correlation with what it is that we have feeling in our body. In fact, a lot of the work that I've done with my clients has been on the physiological level to increase capacity, just as somebody was saying just now, I feel nervous when I'm starting to ask for larger amounts of money. Just like if you've ever been in a sales conversation and there's that silence after you state the price, there's this uncomfortable, nervous feeling in the body. And for you to maintain your silence, maintain the space that's necessary for somebody to make an empowered decision on the other side of the call, there needs to be a development of our physiological capacity to hold the discomfort. So what I want you guys to do is just take a moment, close your eyes. You can leave your eyes open if you want, but just take a few deep breaths into your stomach right now, into your diaphragm, and allow yourself just to sort of go into a little bit of a calm space. Good. A few deep breaths in and out. Just letting go of anything that doesn't concern this moment, anything that is not important in this place and time at this moment. And allow yourself to just go inward for a second and just feel in your stomach, what is it that you feel when I say money? What is it that you feel when I say unbelievable wealth? Is it a discomfort? Is it an excitement? What are you feeling in this moment? All we're doing is bringing our awareness, bringing our attention to that spot inside of us, inside all of us. What do you feel right now inside of yourself? Allow yourself just to continue to breathe. Whatever we place our focus and attention on begins to expand. What I want you to do is take this moment, take this opportunity to really shift your gaze, your internal gaze, and your focus onto what you're feeling internally when we start speaking around the topic of money. Now, what I want you to do, you're going to notice something. You might feel a sense of excitement. You might feel a sense of nervousness. What's really interesting and fascinating is that physiologically speaking, the two, excitement and nervousness, are the exact same chemical response in the body, the same hormones getting released. So it's just about our interpretation, right? And so what I want you to do, it's almost like they're two sides of the same token. I want you to lean into a feeling of excitement. I want you to lean into a feeling like you're finally getting that ice cream cone that you've wanted so long, right? Or maybe it's a toy, or maybe something that, when you were 3, 4 years old, you deeply, deeply desired, you deeply wanted, and then you finally are about to get it. Feel that sense of anticipation. Feel that sense of being so close. I want you to just give yourself this moment. Continue to breathe. I can see some smiles on people's faces. That's great. It's exactly what we want right now. Allow that feeling to expand inside of yourself. And then I want you to repeat the words, isn't this amazing? Repeat it internally. Holy shit, isn't this amazing? Isn't this so amazing? Continue to repeat internally. Each and every time, you just expand just a little further and just a little further. This is so friggin' amazing. Holy crap. Continue to feel. Be on that train. Let it take you. Where does it take you? How amazing does this feel right now? How freaking awesome is this? Now, I want you to bring that sensation, that feeling to a dollar amount. Looking at your bank account, seeing seeing it stacked up, seeing it grow. Looking at that number going up, up, and up. Holy crap, isn't this amazing? Feel what you feel inside of yourself. Yeah, feels good. Beautiful. Now, I want to take you to another area that's a little bit uncomfortable. I want to take you to dinner with your family, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your cousins, everybody that you've ever grown up with, all your intimate connections and relations. Imagine yourself having dinner with them. And then all of a sudden you stand up and you say, Mom, Dad, dead or alive, it doesn't matter. Everybody present, I want you all to know I have plans to become unbelievably wealthy. Now, what do you feel inside of yourself? See the faces in your family. See the reactions. See what people say. Do they laugh? Do they cheer you on? Do they question? Do they express concern? Do they question? Do they question? And now, finally, what do you feel inside of your body? Is there a contraction? Is there a shrinking feeling? Is there a sadness? Is there a heaviness? Or do you continue to feel that expansion? Just take another minute or two, breathe into what you're feeling right now. And then I want you to slowly come back and open your eyes and just take a second and write down your experience. I know this might be an emotional one, and we dove in really quick on this call because I'm not here to waste any time. So take a second, write down what came up for you. The expansive feeling and the contracting feeling. And know that whatever you're feeling right now in this moment is exactly what you are supposed to be feeling. It's exactly what is okay for you to be feeling. And guys, nobody has to coach another one, right? We don't have to coach each other here. Just allow yourself to have whatever experience you have. You see, this conversation is a mirror to you and to your life. My favorite quote of all time, it comes from Dr. Carl Jung. He said, until we make the unconscious conscious, it'll continue to direct our life and we'll call it fate. So our task on this call, first and foremost, is to look at what's going on in our subconscious mind and to make that conscious. Because 9 times out of 10, we're making decisions from an unconscious place. Most of the time, we're making decisions from an unconscious place. And when it comes to our life, when it comes to our business, when you tune into all the business coaches, all the success strategies, what works for some people might not work for you. And the reason being is because if there is some sort of unconscious block, if there's a story that creates this contraction, this contradiction inside of you, inside of your psychology, then it's going to be next to impossible to be able to achieve the effect that those strategies are meant to achieve. And so we have to be absolutely honest with ourselves and confront ourselves, confront our truth to acknowledge what it is that's truly holding us back. And this is the work. This is what we're focused on here today. And so the first part of what I wanted to cover with you guys is I wanted to expose how it is that we know that we have a negative money story. Now, we all have money stories, and a story is the narrative that is at the deepest level of our psychology. So we have the results in our business, we have the routines, the habits, the actions that we're taking to get those results. We have the perspective, the way we see the world, and the stories that predicate those perspectives, those narratives. And so we all have a narrative. We all have a belief system around money. Now, what's really interesting about that example that I told you guys to imagine, the example of coming home and being in front of your family, your friends, your parents, the people that you were raised with, and saying out loud, I have plans to become unbelievably wealthy. Now, if what you saw and felt was a feeling of not being accepted, a feeling of mockery, a feeling of shame. Like, look who he thinks he is. Look who she thinks. Like, what is she thinking? Hey, you don't want that. You don't really want that. Like, rich people are greedy. Rich people are that. Wealth, why are you going after that? Are you all about the money now? Like, what's with you? Are you a sellout? Like, we can go on and on and on, right? And talk about all the different stories that we were raised with. And what's really interesting about that example is that if that's what you experience in that moment, that quick little brief moment in this sort of slight hypnagogic state, then you better believe that that experience is playing out every single second of every day. Okay. That is with you. Those stories are with you throughout the operation of your business, the operation of your life. So our task is not to negate that, is to understand that, to be with that, but also recognize that it doesn't have to stay like that. We can rewrite these scripts. We can rewrite these stories. And it takes work, but it's totally possible. So we know that we have a negative money story. If what we set out to do, what we set out to accomplish, we are unable to. We keep coming against a wall. And it could be an invisible wall. It could be a wall that we never see coming and doesn't even make sense. What works for other people doesn't work for us. Here is the other way that we know that we have a negative money story that needs to be rewritten. And this is really an important one. I want you to break out your pens. I want you to get ready to write this one down. Whenever you see yourself working too damn hard to make money, you have a money story that goes against your goals. Let me say that again. Whenever you see yourself working too damn hard to make a certain amount of money, you have a money story that runs contrary to your goals. Now, let me explain that. Let me break that down. There's this popular concept that in order to be successful, in order to make a lot of money, we have to hustle really hard. We have to sacrifice ourselves in the process. It's really difficult, and very few people make it to the top. You can go on and say these things on and on and on. I'm here, and if you take anything from this call today, what I want you to take away is that that's absolutely bullshit. You do not have to kill yourself. You do not have to, quote unquote, hustle harder. I want you to take the imagery of a fly banging its head against a window trying to get outside. Now, very close by is a door that's open that leads to the outside world. Now, the question is, if you continue to hustle harder and keep banging your head against the window, will you make it outside? Or will you die and perish a painful, disappointing death? Now, can you spend just a couple of seconds to do something in a different way that will give you the freedom you absolutely want? Yes, you can. That example actually comes from a book called U Squared by Bryce Pritchett, which I highly recommend you check out if you can. And again, it's this concept that if we're working really hard and it's like, and we're killing ourselves in the process, then we're running old software. Okay, we're running an operating system that is not optimized for the programming that we want to do, right? To accomplish the tasks that we want to accomplish. And I'm gonna tell you from my own life, the times when I have made a lot of money in my business is the times where I relaxed and let it be easy. Okay, let it be graceful. Those are the words that I want you to embed inside of yourself. Easy, graceful, without this like ridiculous amount of effort. Now, that doesn't mean you don't do the work. Of course you do the work. I'm not promoting sit on a couch and, meditate that the monies are going to come to you. It's not, right? The only thing that's going to come is an eviction notice. You have to get off your ass and sell the couch. However, anybody who has made a lot of money will tell you it takes work, but it's actually, it could be extraordinarily easy, right? Just look at people, and I know this is a mind-boggling concept, okay? So I'm going to continue to unpack it for a little bit. But just look at people who, for instance, like I'm surrounded by people who are investing in crypto. And I'm also surrounded by people who are hustling hard and doing organic marketing and doing this and doing, like trying to do everything in order to even just build a six-figure income. And they're struggling, and it's day in, day out, year after year, right? As opposed to people who are basically millionaires overnight. Now, that doesn't mean that like drop what you're doing and do crypto, because there's people who struggle in crypto and they can't get crypto going. There's people who, they do coaching and they blow the hell up. But what I want to tell you again, if you're hustling hard and it's like this feeling of this is hard, this is really hard, and I don't like this, I don't enjoy this. Like, this is really like, I actually hate this and I'm starting to hate myself. Then you're working too hard. There's got to be another way. I want to invoke a universal law called the Law of Polarity. Now, this is a teaching that comes from one of my mentors and his mentors, my mentor's mentor. Anyway, it's sort of the tradition that I was trained in. We speak about universal laws a lot. We speak about truth, right? The way that, we can look at certain principles in life and in the world, in the universe, and we can use these principles as guiding faculty, like guiding factors. And so this universal law of polarity basically states that there's no half of anything, okay? There's only wholes, meaning that this pen is a whole entire pen. Now, if I hold it like this, you see half on this side, half on this side, okay? So what this law of polarity, the way we can use it for our purpose of what we're speaking about right now, is that we have to recognize that if I have a desire within me, like you all had a desire right now for a certain amount of wealth in your life, if I have a desire within me, the means to accomplish that, the means to bring me closer to the fulfillment of that desire also exist, because there are two halves of one whole. Now, if all I can see is this lack, right? There's not enough clients, there's not enough money, there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough. What's going on is that my thinking has been polarized, okay? Just like wearing glasses that are a polarized lens. When I was in filmmaking, we would, turn a polarizer lens, and all of a sudden, like the sky would just change colors, right? It would shift, and we'd like, it's this whole thing because it's like polarizing the light rays. So what's going on when we're in this hustle harder mode is that our thinking is polarized, and we have this idea, we have this story that if I want to be successful, I got to absolutely kill myself. My hands need to be bleeding. But what we're not seeing is that there's actually an easy and graceful path, a way to do things that is not necessarily comfortable, but it's much simpler, if not easy. And what I mean by that, and this is the first question that I ask people when they come to me and they say, I've tried everything, I've tried this, I've tried that. The first question I ask is, what are you resisting? What is it that you're not willing to do? Oh, I can't do that. No, I'm not going to do that. You want me to cold call? No, I'm not going to. No. I'd rather build a website, right? Whatever that is. And it's almost like, maybe it's a little bit of a gross analogy, but it's almost like when you are very sick, like you had too much to drink for New Year's, and your stomach is churning, and you're just like, I don't want to vomit. I mean, this has always been my case. I don't want to vomit because I don't like to lose control, right? Any control freaks in the house? I know there's a few. And finally, you let yourself go, and then afterwards, it's so much better, right? So the first question is, what is it that you're resisting? What are you resisting? Now, I don't expect you to have an answer right away. It's more of a hypothetical question that I want you to ask yourself whenever you get to a place where it feels really hard, okay? Life feels hard, business, making money feels very hard. I'm going to back up for a second and speak a little bit about myself, because there's some newish people on this call who might not have much experience with me, what I can say is that I, for many years of my life, I was a classic under earner. I, 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 I was basically like a starving artist archetype, in that I was sleeping on the floor. I was living very small. I was, trying to get funding for certain projects, but I couldn't get funding. It felt like money was everywhere but here. It was that type of feeling, right? And what I've realized in doing this work that we're talking about today, what I've realized is that I had two very distinct stories running in my subconscious around money throughout most of my life. The first one is that I was raised in a household that was critical of capitalism, and even though I was raised with really powerful humanistic values, I still hold dear today. There was this sense that money was wrong. It corrupted people, right? And that it led to a lot of exploitation. Which, yes, of course, there's a lot of exploitation out there. Let's not kid ourselves. But those underlying currents, right, that prevented me from really allowing money to come into my life and to come in an easeful way. There was even a time in college where my mom came into some money and she wanted to give me some money. And I literally was like, no, Ma, I don't want the money. Money's corrupt, money's evil. I don't want to deal with money. It's whatever, right? And she was like, Abe, don't be an idiot. I'm paying all your bills. Like, you're not working. I just want you to take this money so I don't have to do it. I don't have to worry about it, right? But what's really interesting is that after that, those stories continued to play out in my mind. The other thread is that I have a very long history with spirituality, traveling with monks, traveling the world, sleeping on the floor, living a monk-like lifestyle, which was great, which was wonderful. I truly loved that and considered pursuing that path the rest of my life. But there was something inside of me that wanted to live in society and have a greater impact. And so I chose to be a householder. However, even in that capacity as somebody with a job and who's married, I still was unable to really step up my game and create the impact that I so deeply desired. And so it really took a lot of just rewiring of my brain through neuroplasticity and rewriting my money story to come to a place where I was able to turn what I would make in a year into what I would make in a month, which is insane for people. And if you think about like time wise, and like, oh, I gotta, I was making $30 an hour working as a teacher for a film school. In order to make, six figures in my business, I had to work so many hours. Now I'm able to create the same amount of money and work probably, I don't know, a 20th of the time. I'm able to cut out so much time in the process of hitting a financial goal. And time is actually the true resource that we cannot replace, right? That's the true valuable, precious resource that we have. So in a moment, I'm gonna tell you about the month that I actually turned my yearly income into a monthly income, and like the one thing that really put me over the top. I'm gonna share that with you, so stick around to the end. But before I do, I want to share with you guys a few other sort of I guess steps in rewriting your money story. So we spoke about how do we know that we have a money story. We spoke about what a money story is and the importance of making the unconscious conscious. Now I want to give you guys a process that you can walk away with from this call and start to implement in your life, and really, make the most out of our time together today. So the first one, step one, is to write down your money story. Okay. What are the underlying narratives that contribute to your story? And this takes some writing. This takes some real deep diving and deep digging to really excavate. The next one is that we have to assume personal responsibility. Now, this is huge. And What I mean by this is that I used to walk around with this feeling like no matter what, if I tried to make a certain amount of money, I just couldn't. Like the universe was literally blocking me and wanting me to stay poor, maybe because money would corrupt me and therefore God wants to keep me holy, keep me spiritual, keep me whole, right? Fill in the blank. Personal responsibility it's the quickest path to empowerment. And to demonstrate that, I actually want to diagram something out for you guys. There's something called the victim triangle or the drama triangle. Maybe you guys have heard of this. And in this triangle, we have somebody who feels powerless, feels like a victim. Life is happening to me, not for me. My money situation is happening to me, right? Now, in this victim triangle, wherever you have a victim, you also have an abuser, an aggressor. You basically have somebody or something that's taking opportunity, freedom of expression away from the victim. Okay. Now, lastly, you have the rescuer, meaning that the victim's always waiting for some circumstance to occur or somebody to come in and save them. Now, this happens a lot with money when you're in a tight bond and you're not being resourceful and you're in your victim. This is something that I experienced very much and had to rely on other people to bail me out. Now, this is a dynamic that plays out in our minds, plays out in society, it plays out definitely in politics. And I can go, I've taught classes and seminars all around this, but I'm going to sort of just brush over or go a little bit faster today. What happens when we take personal responsibility for our situation is that we start to look at the choices that we're making and we accept the results of those choices. We accept the outcome, the cause and effect relationship between the choices that we make and the results that we're getting. That's something that's very difficult to do. And even more difficult is to accept responsibility, not only for the results of our choices, but also for the things that occurred to us in our life. Now, this is a super controversial topic, and I'm not going to get into a whole thing around people who have, faced all sort of really traumatic events. I'm just speaking more on the level of your money story today. And what happens when you start accepting responsibility for these things is that you go from this victim place to a creator, meaning that you realize, wait a second, if I'm creating my money situation, if I'm creating the lack of clients, if I'm creating the debt or the lack of funds in my bank account, that means that I can uncreate it, right? That means that I can actually create something different, create something new. Another quote that I absolutely love comes from the architect Buckminster Fuller, who said that if we want to create something new, we have to create a new model that renders the old one obsolete. So instead of trying to fix problems on the old model, create a new model, rendering the old one obsolete. This is exactly what I mean by going from a victim to a creator. And a creator is somebody who is resourceful. Somebody who is able to use that law of polarity and not get caught up in the polarization of thought, meaning that you sink deep into that hole of there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough. But you come from a place of, I want this. And because I want this and I truly want this, not just for myself, but also from a place of service so that I can be of better service to the world, then that means that the means to accomplish what I want to accomplish is here. In fact, my desire is evidence that those means are here. So all I need to do is think differently. What do I need to ask myself? What am I not thinking? Or where do I have to be in a place inside myself vibrationally that will open my eyes and see some of the opportunities that lie around me? I can't tell you how many times that I've come to a place in my business where I felt stuck and was like, I have no idea where I need to go, what I need to do next. I've tried everything. And I'd speak to my coach, my mentor. I would have an experience where I get out of my head, I get out of the victim, because whenever I'm in that place, some part of me is still in victim. I don't feel empowered. And I would allow myself to relinquish that story and to take a new story, a story that is actually the truth. And Wallace Wattles, author of The Science of Getting Rich, he said, another great book, he said, to think what you want to think is to think truth regardless of circumstance. Meaning that no matter what's happening around you, you're able to think from a place of universal truth. And the universal truth is that abundance is the truth, is the law, like the law of gravity, right? There's an abundance around me. There's no shortage of people that I can serve. There's no shortage of money in the world, that's for sure, right? Nobody can prove otherwise. There's a lot of money here. There's a lot of resources here. So what am I not seeing? Because I'm only capable of seeing a little amount, right? A very little amount, and I'm restricted by my belief. So if I expand my belief, if I take on a new belief, and that belief is that, again, the resources are here, then all of a sudden I start to see new things, new vistas. And when I do, what's funny, this is the reason why I wanted to say this, what's funny is that it's something that's been here all along. It's like something I've been sitting on, or a relationship that I've already cultivated in the past that I could have, followed up with months ago. And only now am I realizing, like, oh crap, why don't I just do that thing, right? It's where we do our best thinking. That's number 2, is to take personal responsibility. Number 3 is to come from a place of creativity, not reactivity. And I basically just touched upon that in the last example. But one idea that I want you guys to take a look at is the idea that money actually doesn't come from people. What? Money doesn't come from people. It comes through people. So sit with that for a second. Money doesn't come from people, it comes through people. Where does it come from? It comes from God. It comes from universe. It comes from source. It comes from creativity. It comes from a different place. When we think that money comes from people, if we think that there's a lack of people, then of course there's a lack of money. But when we start to think, and again, this is a mindset principle, when we start to think, wait a second, money comes from the same thing that's provided everything good that's here in my life. Everything beautiful from my life that I've ever had, money comes from the same place. Now, it comes through people because that's the channel by which it arrives in my bank account, right? So of course I'm not going to have a conversation with a statue or a frog or try to enroll a cup of coffee. Like I'm going to have a conversation with people, but I can't put the emphasis on a human being. If I show up in a sales conversation with the person and I'm like, please, can you pay my rent? Please, if you don't pay my rent, I'm screwed. Right? We know that, neediness is creepy, right? To be needy is to be creepy. So we have to come from the place that money is abundant and it can come from you. It doesn't have to. And if you say no to my offer, then it's going to come from somewhere else. You by no means, and I say you in the sense of whoever I'm speaking to hypothetically, you are by no means responsible for my income. Again, point 2, I am the one who is responsible because I've assumed personal responsibility. Kind of crazy, huh? Really trips you up. So money doesn't come from people, it comes through people. Now, here is the 4th one, and this is the secret that I want to share with you guys on how I was able to turn my yearly into a monthly income. And it really comes down to gratitude. And you're going to hear this from all of the self-help books, the Think and Grow Riches, the Science of Getting Riches. It always comes back to gratitude, this feeling of gratitude, this feeling of being grateful for what it is that I have, this feeling of being grateful, not just for what I have right now in this moment, but what is here to come. And I'll tell you why in a second, and I'll tell you the story of what happened with me. I want you to imagine that you live in a town and there's like the best baker in all of the tri-state area. I grew up in New York, so I say tri-state area. is like right next to where you live. Naturally, you're going to get the freshest bread possible. If you live miles, maybe even multiple towns down the road, the bread might not arrive, until tomorrow, the day after. You're going to get stale bread. So gratitude is that which brings us closer to the baker. It gives us that proximity. Again, if we're following that third point, that money doesn't come from people, but through people, it comes from the bakery, then I want to get as close to that bakery as I possibly can. And gratitude is the means by which I do that. So I had this very interesting experience years ago where I was in a situation where uh, I had to manifest, let's say, a resource. I believe it was like $15,000 in 24 hours. It's all my finances was tied up, and I was just in that situation. And at first, I panicked. At first, I tried to make it hard. Like I thought, well, maybe if I do 100 calls, and I went insane. And then I came back to the teachings, right? I came back to what it is that we're speaking about today. And I said, okay, well, what if this was really easy? What if this was just like the simplest thing ever? And I started to let go of the need. All right. Let go of this like hard fucking thing. Right. And I just allowed it to be like an easy, fun, graceful process. And what's really interesting is that when I made that decision to let it be easy, the next thing that occurred is I started feeling this kind of like welling up in my chest. And it was this feeling of gratitude, this feeling of graciousness. And I really felt grateful. I felt grateful for all the people I was working with. I felt grateful for the clients that I have. I felt grateful for the teachings and what I've been learning. I felt grateful for everybody that's inspired me in my life. You can see where I'm going. And I was really just tapping into that feeling, that vibration. And then I essentially got on a call with somebody that I was already working with, and we were talking about potentially extending his contract. And it wasn't from this place of like, I really need you to extend the contract. I really need you to do this, otherwise I'm screwed. And I've taken that route and it's not gone in a good direction. Instead, I just completely surrendered and I let go. And all I could feel was like a deep sense of love and gratitude. It was almost unprofessional. I was just like emanating just so much love on the call for this human being. Like I just really appreciated him. And it just felt right. I told him, I said, hey, I think we should really extend your contract. I think, like I really feel like I would love to keep working with you. And I know you would feel that too. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And we took a look at what that would look like financially, and it was exactly the same amount, 15,000. And it was like that. Boom. Okay. Transfer the money, done. Now, prior to that, right, in order to create that, I would have to work half a year, 6 months, in order to create $15,000 in my bank account, right? Here, in just 1 minute of gratitude, boom, done, transferred. So it taught me a lesson, right? And that was the first month that I think I pulled in altogether. It was more than $30,000. And that lesson was exactly this point, that we have to do the work to come from a place of creativity and a place of gratitude. So before we kind of wrap up and conclude for today, the final point is thought projection and abundant thinking. Instead of talking about it, I want to take you guys through one more thought exercise. And it's really in combining these 2 points, the fourth and fifth together, this feeling of gratitude and this idea of projecting gratitude onto our situation, onto our story. And so what I want you to do is, one more time, I want you to come back to a place within yourself, find a nice, comfortable position, take a few deep breaths in, let us just like slow down for a second and be in this moment and just be freaking grateful. Like, what are you grateful for? Give yourself that moment, that sensation. What am I grateful for? It could be stupid, like it could be simple. I'm grateful that I I have comfortable socks on. I'm grateful that my slippers feel really nice. I'm grateful I have a Buddha head behind me that reminds me to just let it be easy. I'm grateful to have this microphone from 20 years ago, back when I used to rap and do hip hop, and I still have it. I'm able to use it for a class talking about money story. I'm grateful for, and just start filling in the blanks. What are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? Now, what I want you to do, every fourth sentence in your mind, I want you to be grateful for something yet to come. I'm grateful for my house that I'm in right now. I'm grateful for the view of the ocean. I'm grateful to be on the call with all of you guys right now. I'm grateful to have a multiple seven-figure coaching business. I'm grateful for my phone. I'm grateful for the fact that Clubhouse is now on Android. I don't have to use my iPad. I'm grateful for the bamboo that reminds me of Asia and how much I love Asia. And I'm grateful to move to a incredible house just overlooking the ocean in California. I'm grateful, and just keep going. These are my gratitudes, but what are yours? What's beautiful about this, as you do this practice, is that what you're doing is you're pacing yourself and then leading yourself. If we come from a place where you say, I'm grateful that I'm rich, we all have this thing called the critical filter inside of our brain. And that critical filter, I call it the what you're talking about Willis filter, because when you say I'm rich, if that what you're talking about Willis filter, that critical filter is active, it's going to say, you're not rich. What the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? And it's just going to bounce right off. So what we want to do is we want to continue this pacing and leading exercise of just tapping into that feeling, that vibration of gratitude, that amazing feeling that I had you guys tap into at the very beginning of the call. And I was saying, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it? Give yourself just another minute just to feel that, the gratitude that you feel. Not only for what you have right now, for the beautiful things here to come. A few more deep breaths in and out. And when you're ready, I want you to come back to the call. Open your eyes. You can do a namaste. You can fist bump the camera, whatever feels right for you. And what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up the lecture, me spieling away, and we're going to open it up for some Q&A before wrapping up for today. But I want to thank you guys for just being present, because this work that you're doing, if you're here, if you're with me, then you are what I would consider a heart-centered entrepreneur, a conscious entrepreneur. And it's important that we do this work, because you cannot have impact without having income. In fact, your income is a measure of the impact you're having in the world. And my mission is to see more heart-centered entrepreneurs, conscious entrepreneurs, mission-driven entrepreneurs like yourself, creating greater levels of impact, because it's the only way that we're going to change this world.